Hello everyone, it's August 7th, and we have some more Commander spoilers for Commander 2019. Now this is all going to be for the Primal Genesis deck. This is the token populate theme deck, red, green, and white. Now today's actually looking like a pretty good day. Got a lot of good quality reprints, as well as some interesting new legendary creatures. Some noteworthy reprints. As expected, something like Lightning Greaves is going to see yet another reprinting. It's not uncommon, but it's such a good card, and it keeps going up in price. So many Commander decks need it. Giving a creature haste and shroud for that little mana, there's just a ton of upside to this card. There's really no point in not playing it if your Commander is vital to your strategy. Angel of Sanctions wasn't an expensive card, but it's a good reprint that takes advantage of other mechanics, like from Amonkhet. You had the whole Embalm thing where you could bring a creature back. It's a token, so taking advantage of that with the populate. Angel of Sanctions is kind of like a Banisher Priest, so a quality token. If you can get more of it, it's going to fit in well with the deck. And a very good underrated card, Feldon of the Third Path. Makes token copies of creatures in your graveyard, so if you populate, they won't be as temporary. And another very good reprinting of a good Planeswalker, Garruk Primal Hunter. We need more reprints of Planeswalkers because Wizards, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner where there are only so many opportunities for them to reprint these kinds of Planeswalkers. They're not super expensive, so you shouldn't expect to see them in a master set. They're actually quite playable, so putting them in a pre-constructed deck was a great idea, and I hope we see even more of this in the future. And Tristani Selesnya's voice was bound to be reprinted in this deck, and even if it wasn't, you know it was going to see play in this deck alongside the other Commander options. Now going over some newer cards here, we have Commander's Insignia. You know me, I love anthems. This is basically the super anthem, dependent on how many times you've cast your Commander from the command zone. And this should work even better with partner Commanders, because I think it counts them individually and not just which one you've cast the most. So if you've cast each of them twice, because it's easy to do that, you'll get a +4/+4 anthem for your creatures. And it's only 4 mana enchantment, which is not much more than the other anthems, so it's pretty good value. Full Flowering is a massive X spell in green. Dump a bunch of mana into it and you get to populate. Pretty much just reads, hey, create this many more of the token you really like. And then we have Selesnya Eulogist, kind of like Scavenging Ooze that also lets you populate for a little bit more mana. Not something like Scavenging Ooze that you can spam, because it is 3 mana versus just the 1 green. But if your goal is graveyard hate while also benefiting a token strategy, I think it's a solid card. And then we have the really cool Orin Frostfang. 5 mana 2/6 snake. If you love snakes, you get another one here. I know a lot of people complain about not having enough quality snakes. Attacking creatures you control have death touch, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. This is just a solid green card, snake or not. I would expect to see this in a lot of green decks. You get even more card draw. There's a lot of things that give you card draw in green on ETB, but kind of having a Coastal Piracy in green is just even better. Now we get to go over the legendary creatures for the populate deck. First one is the 2-colored one. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but it's kind of interesting. Tahngarth First Mate, 4 mana in Gruul for a 5/5 legendary Minotaur warrior. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, and whenever an opponent attacks with 1 or more creatures, if Tahngarth is tapped, you may have that opponent gain control of Tahngarth until the end of combat. If you do choose a player or planeswalker that opponent is attacking, it attacks that player or planeswalker, which could be kind of political. I do like political cards. It just doesn't seem super interesting to me, especially if you want to build a commander deck around it. But legendary creatures are not made solely to be commanders, so I would expect to see this in other decks rather than be a commander on its own. Doesn't really work out with the populate strategy, so I don't expect it to get a lot of attention. Then we have Marissi, Breaker of the Coil, 4 mana in Naya, 5/4 legendary cat warrior. Your opponents can't cast spells during combat. Yours or theirs, it doesn't matter, they just can't do it, which is really good in Naya. Dealing with instant speed removal is such a pain, and your opponents have to make up their mind before you decide who you want to attack. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls. Goad is from Conspiracy 2, so until your next turn, those creatures attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. It's a really good way to force your opponents to get rid of maybe weaker creatures that have better abilities, because they have to attack. They can't attack you, so again, kind of another commander option that could add politics. But it's not my favorite today. My favorite is the next one, which is Atla Palini, Nest Tender. 4 mana Naya 2/3 legendary human shaman with an activated ability of 2 mana and tapper. Create a 0/1 green egg creature token with Defender. Whenever an egg you control dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. Did you love Easter egg hunts when you were growing up? Because that's kind of what this is. You don't know what you're going to get. It kind of has that same appeal. It could be a really good creature like a Zakama. It could just be a Birds of Paradise. But adding that bit of randomness adds a lot of fun to the game, believe it or not. Even though people tend to be more competitive, they want to know what they're going to get out on the battlefield. This takes a less precise approach, but the potential is definitely there. You could most certainly get a Zakama. You could get another gigantic creature in Naya. Just a very fun looking card. If you were looking to build good stuff Naya, I know, yeah, it doesn't have any specific direction to build around because it is just about cheating creatures into play, and that's really what Naya does best is big creatures, so you're bound to play good stuff Naya, which is just a bunch of creatures. But it's still fun to me. It still looks like a bunch of fun. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Just wanted to go over the meat of the deck, the legendary creatures, what a lot of people are going to be excited to build around, and some of those awesome reprints. Looks like a pretty good set. I didn't even talk about the lands, but we did get some quality lands. Not a perfect situation, but it looks like it's getting a little bit better. You guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.